Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. How's your Sunday? I pray that it was truly blessed and it is still being truly blessed. Um, thank you for, I don't know. Okay, thank you for joining us today for these are the last days talk show. Um, we've been, for the last couple of days, we've been weighing in on the George Floyd murder. And we want to also add in the protesting. We want to weigh in. We got um, Dwayne Anderson. He will be joining us, and he has a few things that he would like to talk about. Some things that been going on. He's seen today on the news, and we have our daughter who is actually a protester. She's going to join us and she's going to talk about her experience of being out there protesting in Las Vegas. And we just, if you would like to weigh in, and if you would like to weigh in on our show, then weigh in. Send me a text message. Send me a text message, and I'll send you the link, and you can join us, and you can speak your mind, speak out. You know, if you're like me, you're mad as hell, and you don't want to take anymore, and you're not going to take anymore. So let's weigh in, and I'll send you the link. Just let me know. All right.
Okay. How's everybody doing? Great to see you. Uh, we have a special guest today that we're going to talk about. I can't hear myself. But we have, I'm going to put my earphones
Oh,
on.
let me mute myself. We're just like everybody else. We're in the studio at home, and we're figuring this thing out. We didn't go to school and get no degrees on broadcasting, but hey, we're making it work. You don't have sound.
I'm
So,
not trying to get
okay.
it.
So, until he gets his sound together, got me back here. Again, you go to my Facebook page, and or if you're on YouTube, you can send me a message and weigh in. I mean, send me a message and say you would like to
Test.
join the talk
Test.
show, and I will
One,
send
two.
you the link to be on the talk show. Now, we're talking about um, mainly the injustice to Floyd, George Floyd, the injustice that was done to George Floyd. I called Floyd George earlier. My apology, but um, George Floyd and the protesting that's going on all over the United States now, which started
Test.
off in Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, has now spread it uh, to New York, to California, to Ohio, to everywhere, even here in Las Vegas. So if you're in another state and you want to talk about um, what's been going on in your state, or if something actually happened to you and you want to share your experience, please let us know. Okay. Are we ready?
Uh, just a
Okay.
minute.
Our first guest, yes, here we go.
Just a minute. Your mic, your mic, testing, testing. And we are here. And can you hear me, Mary? All right, great, great, great. Mary, your mic sounds kind of muddy, so if you can go out and come out back in while I do this. Uh, Today is this is a good day, so I want to talk about a couple of things that are dear to our hearts. Today we want to focus on uh, this man, this very nice man who was killed, and in a very brutal way. Very brutal way he was killed. Very Um, and I call it a hate crime, but I call it a hate crime only because that's what it is. We got to call it what it is, and you don't have to be racist to say a spade is a spade. It's a hate crime. It's a black man who was killed by a white man viciously. And we want to talk about that and put emphasis on that and commentate about it because, uh, you know, these crimes have to stop. I mean, it's over and over and over. Black people are being slain. This killing of George Floyd was a modern day lynching. A modern day lynching that uh, it just it's not a good it's not a good thing, to be. We don't want to be any harm or any threat. I don't know what the problem is that why we are being killed, because I'll give some comparisons to people who are arrested, black ones, people who are arrested, white ones, and you can see the comparison about the things that are done in a special treatment. And we want to talk about white privilege today. We want to talk about black privilege, if there's any, today. And we want to spread the word and talk about things that the media is not talking about right now. Uh, so we need your audience participation. Now I'm gonna start off before we introduce our guest today. We have coming on. We have a special guest of a person who has some special hands-on experience with protesting and the protesting here in Las Vegas, and we compare it to the protesting around the United States. We want to talk about the protesting here in Las Vegas because some things are being done. You know, uh, Protesters have the constitutional right to voice their opinion. So on both sides, from the protesters to the police here in Las Vegas, there were some mistakes made. There were some things done that shouldn't have been done. But we want to have an even playing field. Now, let's talk about protesting. You can protest in the streets, and you can protest here on the internet. You can protest in many ways. So right now, we're protesting and voicing our opinion at the same time, because we have to understand that we have to talk about these things, because if someone else doesn't talk about them, if we don't talk about them, and try to analyze them, like from Rodney King on to even before Rodney King, this stuff been going on for centuries, and we're tired of it. We're tired of seeing the senseless violence, and we're tired of seeing the uneven playing field of more black bodies, more black people being slain and killed and murdered in such vicious ways. Now, George Floyd was the icing on the cake, and it's coming off the heels of another young man who was jogging, who was shot. He was hunted and shot and killed viciously, and attacked before he got shot. You know, we could talk about Sandra Bland. You know, we could talk about I Can't Breathe. We can talk about all these things today, but before I introduce our guests we have today, we're going to talk about the arresting report of the policeman, the cop, the ex-cop that killed George Floyd. We're going to talk. We're going to let you see some videos, and we're going to let you see some things that's going on in real time with the protests today. So sit back and relax and enjoy what we're about to communicate to you. And Mary, you take it from here as I set everything up.
Okay, as I don't know if you see me, but I was trying to leave out and come back in, but it was one of the things you get caught on camera, so to speak. Even in these times, you gotta have, you gotta try to have some joy, even though this stuff is not enjoyment. To see what's going on the internet. Something that disturbed me, and I'm pretty sure that Dwayne has a video of it. But one of the things that I seen is that I don't know. I was looking for other videos on it. But if you might have some other videos on it, then let me know. Send me a message and let me know. But it was in Minnesota. They declared martial law on that state, and I seen a clipping of a video. It was people outside their door, and so the National Guard were going through the residential area where I wasn't aware that they were rioting in that area. Uh, but there was a mother in her or there was people, I assume mother and children, outside their house on their porch, and they were told to get inside their house. And I guess they were at the front of the door just still looking on their porch, and one of the officers said shoot them, and then they started shooting them. And you got that video? Let me see if you can pull that video up. And that was very disturbing because as we've been watching these protests, unless I missed something, most of them has been doing. Most of them has been taking place in business areas where there's stores, where there's police stations, and but I haven't really seen people going through residential areas. Now I know that they burnt down old apartment buildings and stuff like that, but I didn't see them vandalizing people's homes, so I didn't understand why they were in that residential area. Um, we're going to show you that clipping. That was actually taken off of someone's cell phone and put on Twitter, and it's kind of disturbing. So when you see it, um, be be pre-warned. Okay, he's still trying to pull it up. Now, if you heard anything like that, or if you were actually involved in anything like that in your neighborhood, please let us know, because that is definitely not justice. I also read posts that our president had post earlier, and here's something else that I want you to weigh in on. I'm going to get it and I'm going to put it up there. Um, he said, let me find it. Put my glasses on. It was disturbing as well. Um, let me see.
Here it is.
Okay. Are you ready to show that? All right. He's gonna share his screen and show us the clipping from Twitter, and I'm going to look at this.
So what would
All right, I'm going to mute.
what we're about to show you is the implementation of martial law. Martial law has already started, whether you know it or not. Very quietly, martial law has been implemented in Minneapolis, and it's sure to spread all through the United States because of the rioting. And so we have to prepare ourselves and get ready. But this was caught on tape right here. We're going to let you watch it, and uh, parental discretion is advised with this because it's just so sad that what's happening in our great country. And here we go.
I can't hear anything. Can you hear the sound? It's not coming in. No sound. Turn it up some. I can't hear it coming through my ear. I don't think they can hear that, Dwayne.
Huh?
They can't hear that.
They can't.
No. Uh-uh.
Oh, just a minute. Let me see. Who said they can't hear?
I can't hear it, so that means they can't hear it.
I just fixed the thing.
I can hear you, but I can't hear the video.
Okay, hold it. Let me see. Uh, let's try that.
Oh, there's more. Look at this. They just keep coming.
Go inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get in your house now! Let's go! Light him up! Go inside now! Get in the house!
Get in, get in, get in, get in, get in, get in. Get in.
Oh, God, that hurt. You good?
Are you okay?
Right on the fucking crotch.
Are you okay? You got hit?
I'm good. They're fucked for that, dude. What?
Okay.
So we want to expose this. We want to expose this. We want this video is it's went viral all over the United States already. Martial law has already been implemented. We have our youth with the majority of the protesters or the youth of the country, and they're going out and they feel like they've been betrayed by our law enforcement. So a change has to be made. In order for the protesters to stop, all we have to do is convict all 4 officers. It's that easy. It's not a big hard of a situation. All 4 officers had a knee in this. Well, 3 of the officers had a knee in this man's back. One had his knee in his legs, the other one had a knee in his back, and the other one had his knee in his neck. They're all guilty, all 3 of them. The 4th officer was the lookout officer, and he made sure that nobody saw too much. So he kept the crowd at bay just so they wouldn't see anything. But little did he know that there were other cameras around. So we want to expose all these things, that because we can't have the country being shut up with the implementation of martial law and not even telling us that they're going to do it, but just implementing it and just making it happen without even warning us. So this is the beginning of something that's way bigger than what we think it is, and there's a lot of stories that's not been being told. So that's what this show is about. So with that, Mary, which I would love to introduce.
Let's bring yeah, go ahead, introduce her. Bring her on.
And I would love to introduce our special guest. She's here to give us a hands-on story, an account of her own experiences with the protesting. She did it, and she's talking from experience as a protester, and then also she has some other experiences in her life where she was attacked, and she was. There's things that she's going to tell you that are true stories and true facts about what's happening right now in the United States, especially here in Las Vegas, between the protesters and the police. And you can go right now. Just go on and tell your story as we bring you on. And you're
Okay.
on.
Well, yeah, like he was saying, I've been part of the protests here in Las Vegas. I watched how everything escalated. A lot of the news reporters are saying that the protesters are blind. The protest turned into riots, which is completely false. Just because I just watched how it escalated. I watched how people peacefully gathered together, and they protested what was wrong, what's going on in the country, like what's really going on, and people were kneeling, everybody was chanting. I'm losing my voice right now because we were all chanting, and it was just really peaceful until of course there are people who are going to express their anger, which is their First Amendment right. You can say whatever you want to say. You can express yourself. that's your First Amendment right. So there are, certain people who, will hurt the officer's feelings a little bit, rub them the wrong way, and um, you know, things start to tense up, and that's when they start telling people to move back and stuff. But at this point, like, okay, you guys already had it, all of us in one area, and now you want us to move back. Okay, we start moving back, but as we're moving back, they're starting to attack people. At that point, people are upset, and it gets more rowdy just because people are getting attacked for no reason, people are getting arrested, people are getting injured for no reason. So that incites more people and more anger and more, insults or whatever is, hurting their feelings or whatever, makes the, dynamic change. So, yeah, next up was people, they started tear gassing us because people wouldn't move back. Of course, people were just in their place. People were just protesting. That's just what happens in a protest. Like when you're protesting the bad system. So, you know, um, it just got a little hectic. So they started tear gassing everyone. And once the tear gas came,
You were one of the ones that got shot with a rubber bullet, right?
yeah. So after the tear gas came and like everything started getting really crazy, people were outraged. That's when they just started like shooting bullets, the rubber bullets into the peaceful protesters. There were children in the crowd. They were just shooting bullets at us. Not, no matter why we were there. It didn't matter if we were one of the protesters in the front that hurt their feelings or one of the protesters that threw a water bottle at you with your red gear on. It didn't matter whoever. uh, they were, they just started shooting. And I started running and I got shot. And I never experienced pain like that in my life. And I can't fathom a reason why I even deserved it because I didn't, I gathered peacefully. I did everything that you guys asked me to do and you wanted me to do. And you say, okay, well, we're letting you all protest. We're letting you all practice your First Amendment right, but you're not. Because what happens every time we gather, they turn crazy and they start shooting us and they start tear gassing us. And then I got shot. I got tear gassed yesterday too, but because I got shot and that hurt so much, I'm not even focused on it. So it's just crazy. It was just like pandemic. Like it was like it's like really real. You're really like that. You're really like killing. And I got shot and like and I just kept running. I kept running like no matter how bad it hurt. I just kept running because it was going to be better than if they were to catch me. Like what would they would have caught me because you shot me without even knowing, or you just shot me just because. Like, so what would you do when you catch me?
Now the in Minneapolis, the protesters, the initiation of the rubber bullets and the tear gas was initiated by the police on the first day of the protests. Last night, while you were protesting, who initiated first? Was it
The
the officers and
yeah, the police officer.
the police officers? But now listen, don't don't be dismayed because there's other powers that be that's out there protesting right now, like neo Nazis, skinheads, uh, KKK, are mixing in with the good protesters, trying to make the good protesters look bad, and as a result, you got the brunt of it with the rubber bullet because of other people's actions. Now, the law enforcement know this is happening, but they're lumping all protesters in the same bag. But all protesters aren't the same as a neo-Nazi protester or a skinhead or a cop, undercover cop. So, as a result, you said you got shot by a rubber bullet. you got gas masks. You know what all that's like. Tell us more about the gas after it hits you. The people were telling me that they couldn't breathe, they couldn't see, and some people were getting rashes on their skin from the gas. So what was that experience like? I think her video got stuck. So as we bring her back in, what do you have, Mary?
Okay. Yeah. So there you have it. You know, people are out there, and she said she was out there they were having a peaceful protest, and you know, from being peaceful to running, to being peaceful to being tear gas or pepper spray, being peaceful to being shot with rubber bullets. Um, I like to combine that with the video that we showed earlier. Do and living in America, do you have freedom to express your voice, or is it being stifled? You know, can we really breathe? You know, and saying is I can't breathe, but like George was saying, I can't breathe. You know, then can we really breathe? It don't seem like no, we can't breathe because we're being shut down. Um, we watched some of the videos. People are protesting. They got their hands up. They got their signs up, and they could do that for a few minutes, and then the cops say move, and they move them. You know, why are they moving people all over the place? And then when they're not moving them, why are they grabbing them up and just start shooting them? It's not about the police officer. Um, it's about George Floyd and the 4 police officers that murdered him. You know, I did have this. Let me see if I can post it right here. This is what um, the president tweeted. Wait a minute. They only gave me the last part. Okay, so here we go. The National Guard has arrived on the scene. They are in Minneapolis and fully prepared. George Floyd will not have died in vain. Respect his memory. And then it says, yeah, respect his memory. Okay, it's on both of them. Respect his memory. So what do that have to do with his memory, him dying in vain? If you saying the National Guard has arrived on the scene, they are in Minneapolis and fully prepared. What are they prepared to do? Are they prepared to kill more people? Is that why George Floyd was actually killed? So that more people can die, more people can get killed? Is this the beginning or the start of an apocalypse? What is this? Some people say it's a civil war, but it might even be way bigger than that. It might be the end of the world. The pandemic, now the riots and the killings and the bloodshed. So, how far, America, are we going to let this go? How far are we going to let this go? I opposed yesterday that our people that are out there protesting for justice, you're saying, what's his name? George George Floyd. No justice, no peace. If you're out there protesting for George Floyd, then protest a certain hour, and if people are with you and they're rioting and they're breaking and tearing things down, remove yourself. You protest that day. But leave those people out there by themselves, because what they are trying to do, they're trying to set you up. They're trying to set you up so that you can go and loot those buildings so they can shoot you. Because it has already been stated, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. So don't be a fool. Don't be out there. Don't fall prey. Because the devil, he's the deceiver. He's the great deceiver. He deceives. You know, Um, so don't be deceived. Don't be a fool. When you go out there, protest. If there's some fools out there tearing up people's stores, if they're out there doing things, opening up doors, so you could go in there and pilfer, then don't do it. Because it's the devil. He's trying to get you caught up. Don't he ain't worried about you going to jail. He ain't worried about you going to prison or getting a criminal record. He's trying to take you out. There's people out there with guns. We seen a picture of this person had about 6 guns, a holster that hold about 6 guns. You know, what do you need that many guns for unless you're going out for a massacre? You get ready to kill a bunch of people, and you're not even a police officer. So why do you have 6 guns on your hip? You know, you have premeditated murder, premeditated in your mind. You're already leaving your house. You're looking for an opportunity to take somebody's life. So when they see you looting, because they opened up the door for you to go in there to loot, when you come out of that door with 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 stolen goods, they're gonna shoot you down in the street. Do you understand this? We're living in the last and evil days. Don't be fooled. The enemy is setting you up. If you're out there for a peaceful protest, when it's no longer peaceful, then that's the time for you to leave.
Okay, I want
I
to
want to
talk
talk
about
about
the
the
double.
double standard. There's a double standard with this, and I want to show you a video because I'm gonna show you proof. And every time I come on here and say something, I want to back it up with some proof. This is for anybody who does a show like this that we want to, when we're exposing things and we're exposing things that people aren't able to see on the media, the regular mainstream media. Um, but I have a video right here where there's a double standard, where white people have white privileges, and the white people and black people don't have the same privileges. White There's a difference between a white person being arrested and a black person being arrested. The result with the black person is that we get shot, killed, maimed, or worse. The result with the white person, they get taken to McDonald's after they kill 9 people in a church. But I want to show you this video and to show you the double standards. Parental discretion is advised, but this man in this next video that I'm about to show you did everything illegal and still didn't get shot. So here we go.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen?
This is slow.
Yeah, the enemy's trying to interfere in the airways. We just watched the video, and now it's like it's the video. You just heard how it came on. You want to try it again?
Yeah. Go ahead. Let me fix it. Go ahead, talk to
He's
you.
going to go ahead, and he's going to, I guess he's trying to reload it again.
How you doing, ladies and
Now,
gentlemen?
that's crazy how that video is talking. But the devil will be exposed. He will be exposed. Um, so weigh in, and let me know how you feel about this. You're watching the news. This stuff has took over the the
Airway.
airways, and it's on the news. And I know you have something you want to say about it. So what do you want to say? You can write it, or you can come on. We're going to be here for another half an hour, and just let us know. If you can't get out of your house, or you have, you're not like me, I would love to be out there protesting. But, my health is not going to let me be out there for hours after hours walking up and down the street and having to run when, um, when they say move and start spraying pepper spray and tear gas. So this is another way you can protest. You can speak out. You got freedom of speech, and you can speak out and on how you feel.
Okay,
Okay,
I want to
I want to take up where I left off about the double standard, about how there's white privilege in the United States. So come, I'm about to show you because we just watched the video that I was trying to present. Facebook or the powers that be are trying to take it off of Facebook, but there's a double standard, and we all know as black people, as a race, everyone from black to white to Chinese to brown to you name it, they know that different nationalities are treated different when it comes to incarceration. But I want to shift the focus off of the double standard until we get the video set up right. And I want to talk about the man that killed George Floyd, the officer or the ex-officer. Let's call him that because he was indicted and is on his way to be indicted. We'll see how that works. Because just from Rodney King to Sandra Bland to Trayvon Martin, it's the same story. you know, and these people, these police officers keep getting off. But I have the arresting report um, and of Derek Michael. How do you pronounce his name? Derek Michael Chauvin. He was the arresting officer that had his knee on George Floyd's neck. But here's his arresting. Here's his information, and I'm going to present it to you. And what it's saying is that he was charged with murder, third degree, participating immensely. How's that saying? Dangerous act of advocating depraved mind. So let's stop right there. Is this paperwork saying that he had a depraved mind? Because if he had a depraved mind, he could plead his insanity. If or is this paperwork saying that George Floyd had a depraved mind? But let me read on. In Minnesota, let's go on down. He was charged also with manslaughter, second degree. And what's that say after that, Mary? Can you see that? Oh, okay. And so now he's got these two charges on him right now. Now a lot of people were saying that he should have gotten first degree murder. They're saying that he should have gotten first degree murder. And or at least second degree murder. But at third degree murder is not enough. But let's look at third degree. Third degree murder is 25 years. Or what is the number? Is it 25 years?
It's up to 25 years, and manslaughter is up to 10. So he's facing up to 35 years.
So he's facing up to 35 years. That's with the
If he gets convicted.
if he gets convicted for manslaughter at the third degree, he's facing up to 35 years. Let's talk about that because, from Rodney King, I mean, we were waiting for a verdict. Sergeant Bland, we was waiting for a verdict. Trayvon Martin, we was waiting for a verdict. Every person that was shot and killed by a police officer, we waited for these verdicts, and they came back, and not in not a good way. A lot of the police officers got off, and there's so many senseless killings. But this particular killing was a blatant murder. It was a lynching. It was a what else can I call it? It was a lynching. It was the most gruesome, grotesque murder that we've seen in a while. To see a man's neck snapped and broken by a police officer's knee, and it was so that the police officer was trying to make sure this police officer, his name is Derek Michael, and what's his name? Derek Michael Chauvin. He had after 3 minutes after after 3 minutes after George Floyd expired, after he died, this officer still kept his knee on his neck for 3 minutes after he died. He wanted to make sure that he died. Now he got so let's see. They're saying that he got arrested, and this is arresting mugshot out here that doesn't even look like him. We'll talk about that later. We have the picture of that. But this, to me, also, I want to put another label on this murder. This murder was a hate crime. You can call it a hate crime because we found pictures of this police officer with a "Let's Make America White Again" hat on. When you're wearing "Let's Make America White Again," normally we would convey that as you really don't think that the America should be any other color except white. And when you have all those racist biases, which is blatant racism, in your mentality, this to me looks like premeditated. This looks to me like a hate crime, and this looks to me like a blatant disregard of human life. So we can put all those labels on it because it's there. And we can say the same thing about the other 3 officers besides that was there with him, because they had their knee. One officer had a knee in his back, and the other officer had a knee in his legs. So all 3 of these officers' weight was on this man's body while he was on the ground. You're talking about each man weighing about 275. You're looking at 6, 7, or 800 pounds on top of one man, plus another 275 on his neck. So I want to finish up this point. There's a double standard, because I was trying to show you a video where a man was beating the cop, took the baton, beat the lady cop, beat the man cop. This man was white. If a black man would have grabbed the billy club off of a cop and start beating him with it, how many bullets would he have in? Not only that he take the billy club off of the cops and beat them with him, he stole their car. How many bullets would have been in that car before it left if it was a black man? There's a double standard. The young man, when he went into the church and killed 9 people in a church, they took him to McDonald's. They didn't take George Floyd to McDonald's. They took him to death, even while he was crying and telling them that you're killing me. And he was crying out for his mother. They still killed this man, murdered him. So don't think ill of the protesters, because the protesters have a constitutional right to go out and protest. But what's bad about it that they linked and they mixed bad protesters. They are called paid protesters that are out, and they are skinheads, they are neo-Nazis, and they are KKK, they are white supremacists that are looting, pillaging, they're taking stuff, pilfering. They're taking stuff out of buildings, which is looting. And our president already said out of his mouth, if they loot, shoot. So we just had a guest on here who was shot by a rubber bullet, who was tear gas. She gave her story. Now Mary has something that she wants to carry on with, and but keep in mind about the double standard. Keep in mind about this arresting report that I showed you right here, which is the arresting report of the officer. Keep in mind of all these things and look around. We showed you a video already earlier when we came on that martial law has already been implemented. We had the video, we had the proof. In Minneapolis, martial law is already been implemented, and people who are out on their porches are being shot at. If you don't comply to them, if they tell you to get off of your porch and go in a house, they will shoot you. We have a video. I'll show it again later if you missed it. But here's Mary to weigh in more about what I'm talking about right now.
Okay, yeah, I want to share my screen. I was actually looking for, I was actually looking for the video when the officer got off of, I was kneeling on George Floyd's neck, and then he got off. In that video, you could see that his neck, you could see something was his neck was no longer, it was like some type of deformity there, like something could be broken. So I was going to show you that, but while I was looking, I came across something else that I thought was interesting that we could show, and it's this clip right here. All right, this clip right here. This was from Seattle, Washington. It says this video shows a Seattle police officer forcefully remove the knee of another officer from a person's neck during arrest. So if you can see right here in this video, this man that's being arrested, he is a white man, and this cop right here with his knee on him, he's also a white man. But the video says a video posted to Twitter late Saturday reported shows. Let me make it bigger so you can see it.
I got it.
Okay. The report shows a Seattle police officer kneeling on the neck on a person who is being arrested. Get your effing knee off of his neck, one man can be heard repeating as the other onlookers make similar calls to the arresting officer. So this guy is on the side saying, get your effing knee off his neck. About 15 seconds into the video, another officer can be seen removing the officer's leg from the man's neck. 15 seconds. That's all it took for them to get the man's knee off of this man's neck. The controversial knee-to-knee move, which is banned in some United States cities, was used by the officer charged with killing George Floyd in Minnesota. Okay, it says a video, okay, this is the same thing about the video posted on Saturday, and it talks about the man, the officer in Seattle. It says he was outside a T-Mobile store, and about 15 seconds before another officer forcefully forced his knee away. It was over 10 minutes, and none of those officers forced Derek Chauvin's knee off George. Over 10 minutes, 15 seconds right here, and the other officer forced his knee off the man. The video, which has lasted for about 45 seconds, was posted on Seattle, Washington, just after 10 p.m. Okay, so you can actually look that up. But my reason why I wanted to show you that, because you can see, just like Dwayne was like, there's a difference, on how people are treated. Here you got a white man who's got he got a knee in his neck, and the knee only in his neck is only in there for 15 seconds. I just have to take a pause for that, and think about that. 15 seconds. 10 minutes. 15 seconds. Well, they say in 7 minutes or something, he had it in his neck while he was alive. And then the other 2 minutes or something, which equals over 10 minutes, he had his knee in his neck while he actually had expired right on camera. But yet they pronounced him dead an hour later, which we already know he was already dead when the ambulance came, because one of the officers had took his pulse and said there was no pulse. So let's just pause.
Yeah, I think we should pause with a moment of silence with that one, because it's just blatant racism because of the double standard. When it's a double standard on death, it's blatant racism. Racism is so ugly, and it raises ugly head up when George Floyd was just so viciously murdered. So, his family is grieving. His daughter that was left behind, that people had stopped talking about for some reason. You know, all these things. And let's talk about the witnesses that were there that were filming, the film that made the film of George Floyd. All of a sudden, they disappeared. There's so many things that's going on around here in this United States that makes you say, Now, I have a video. The sound may be messed up. I'm gonna turn the sound down because
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen?
I'm going to walk you through it though, because this is the double standard I'm talking about. This is the double standard that I'm talking about. Right here it shows a man it's a white man in his car. These two police officers are trying to detain him. The video is for some reason it's going slow. I don't know what it is. I guess they don't like what we're talking about right here. So this white man is grabbing the female police officer while the other officer is on the inside trying to push him out of the car. Now, as you can see, he already put his hands on her and he hit her a couple times. He struck her a couple times. So now this man, what he's going to do, watch what he's going to do. Now, if a black man did this, he would have been shot already. At this point of time where you're not getting out of your car, but he's hitting this officer. The officer is hitting him in the back, trying to get him off of her. And there's another officer on the back of him, punching him too as well. At this time, the black man would have been shot. No ifs, but ands about it. He would have been shot and he would have been killed. But this man is going to take the baton off of the white female officer and start beating her and the other officer with their own baton. Now, if the black man have done this, this is where the double standard comes in. If a black man would have took that baton off of this person, look, she grabs the baton with her hand and start beating him with it. Normally, if that was a black man, it wouldn't have been a baton, it would have been a gun, and they would just start either pistol whipping him and shooting him. But she grabs the baton, he snatches the baton off of her and start beating both of them with it. Now, how many black people would have got away with that without being shot, without being murdered? She pulls out her cuffs, can't get the cuffs on him. He grabs the baton. They're scuffling all over the ground. Now, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Why did this not happen to George Floyd? Why was George Floyd just murdered? Why was George Floyd just blatantly murdered, lynched? Why was George Floyd a victim of a hate crime by a racist cop? Now, this man's all over the ground. They still haven't shot him. He's knocking him around. He's punching him. Now he's beating this cop with their own baton. He's beating this cop. Not only did he beat the man, he's beating the female cop. How many black people would have got shot by now? By now, this man should be shot because he's a danger. He's a threat to these cops. Not only that, he steals their police cruiser. Now, right here, this man runs over to the door. Most cops would have shot through the window at the black man. But this man he gets away with everything because there's white privilege. He gets away with this because there's white privilege. Now, America, USA, everybody watching this, if this was a black man, he would not have gotten away with this. If this was a black man, if he would have said anything to those cops, they would have snatched him out of the car. If he wouldn't have got out of the car, they would have shot him. So there's a double standard. There's a double standard, ladies and gentlemen. There's a double standard, and that double standard needs to stop. There's a double standard about white murder victims and black murder victims. The only difference is black people get murdered. White people get taken to McDonald's after they shoot a church up. Black man goes into the church, shoot up a church, he's going to be shot and killed. White man goes up and shoot 9 people in the church, he's going to McDonald's. There's a double standard. You just saw on the video that this man grabbed the baton, beat the cops with the baton, their own baton, and stole their police cruiser. No black person is going to get away with that without being murdered and shot. So there's a double standard. We want to put an end to it. We want to expose it tonight. So I'm going to relinquish my time. Mary, you come back in and introduce our next guest.
Okay, sure. I just real quick. Now, that double standard. I want to weigh in on that. I'd rather have. I wouldn't want the cops to start shooting white people. I would rather them not shoot the black people, and give them as much chance as they gave that man. Did you see how that man was able to? He didn't have any. Even though he took their weapons. Um, Even though he took their weapons, they still did not shoot him. Just like the boy that shot up the church, they took him to McDonald's. So if you're going to have a stand, let it be equal, but take out all the killing. That's all I want to say. We got Calvin Anderson here from New Jersey. He has joined us. Let me see if we can hear him. Can you
Hey, how you
say
guys
something?
doing? How you doing?
Hey,
Good.
hey.
We're good. You
Hey,
want to weigh
hey,
in?
I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to, yeah, I just wanted to ask you, did you see the beautiful tribute from the police chief to um, the young man's brother? Did you see that? He apologized and he said that all three of the cops were guilty, and if he had it in his power, he would arrest all of them. Was a very powerful interview. And the brother was on CNN crying because the brother asked him how come he didn't arrest all three of them. The brother is grieving, not understanding that the attorney general and all those other people got to go after them. But the police chief said if it was in his power, he would arrest all three of them. But it was in his power to fire them. Um, you know, I was just came into the part where he's talking about privilege, you know what I mean? And of course, in this world, we have experienced, other people getting privileges over other people of color,
Correct.
especially in the black community. We had 400 years of discrimination, racism, people getting promoted on a job, you know, um, somebody you're doing a job better than somebody else, and they're getting a promotion, so forth. Um, you know, I could speak on that, but because of my job situation, I'm under a gag order. But I can speak on other people who, experience racism on the job, racism while driving by black, racism going to the restaurant, uh, racism just all the way around, you know, and it just came to such a boiling point because everybody was in the house, trying to quarantine themselves, and we were seeing everything that was coming on social media, everything that was coming on TV, and then we get hit with this, and it just like the steam just came out of everybody, you know. And now we're protesting all over the world. We're protesting all over the world. They even protesting in Germany, and not just the United States, because and they're holding that young man's picture up and praying for him.
Amen.
So we have officers. I just posted a picture on my page where the officers are kneeling down and giving tribute to the young man. And also, the young man is from Texas. They're going to give him. The police are going to give him. Something. You all know if you ever seen a police funeral, but they're going to escort him back to Texas. Okay, it's going to be a big deal. But why did it have to come to that? Because we have police officers who are deeply rooted into the Klan, into the neo Nazis, and they're wearing their uniforms. It's that they infiltrated the law enforcement. We have some really good police officers, but they're keeping that code of blue silence, and they got to break that because if they see an officer out there that's using the badge to promote racism and promote neo-Nazi thinking or KKK thinking, then those officers should not be in law enforcement. And what they need to do when somebody becomes a police officer, they need to be fully vetted and see what exactly is their ideology before they become a police officer. They need to go look on their computers and see if they belong to any hate groups before they allow these people to come in and be police officers. Because I believe with this that the Klan and the neo Nazis discovered a plan how to infiltrate law enforcement so they can have a legal license to kill. And they're killing black people for trophies so that they can say, I got one in Pittsburgh, look what I did. I got one in Detroit, look what I did. You know, you could tell that it's very orchestrated. So the first thing we need to do is have our legislators say, well, you know what? We need to go vet, and when you want to be a police officer, let's see exactly what you believe in. And you'll be surprised how many of them are trying to become police officers that belong to these hate groups. And they're getting sworn in. Then once they get their badge, they wait a little bit, and then bam, they commit that ultimate what they call is cleansing the earth of people of color, but they got a badge, and they got a badge that says, I'm allowed to kill you, and I will not do any crime.
Anytime. I agree with that, and that's where I was talking about the double standard that came in, because because of this this truth and this thing that they have with cops they don't tell on each other, they don't squill on each other. They a lot of cops, they'll see another cop do something that they're not supposed to be doing, and they will hush hush, they won't say anything, and there's just this code of silence that the cops have, that a lot of law enforcement have with each other, but I had earlier, we had my daughter on, and she came on and gave her testimony about how she was shot with a rubber bullet last night, and while she was protesting, and she also was gassed. She was with she was gassed in her. She got the gas in her face, but she said she was shot with a rubber bullet, and she said they were downtown Las Vegas. I mean, down at the Strip, protesting with some other protesters, and a lot of what the media is not putting out there, that the clash between the protesters and police. There's the police are kind of implementing the first thing with the bullets and the gas, but we're at a whole different level now because of now that they implemented martial law in Minneapolis. I see it's going to be happening all over the United States. I put up a video earlier about that. It was caught on tape where they actually implemented martial law in Minneapolis, and here it is right here.
Well, if I could interject,
just a minute, Calvin, just a minute.
Go ahead.
This is the video right here.
All right, go ahead. Oh, wow.
Look at this. They just keep coming.
Oh, go inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get in your house now! Let's go! Light him up! Go inside now! Get in the house!
Get in, get in, get in, get in, get in, get in. Get in.
Oh, God, that hurt. You good?
Are you okay?
Right on the fucking crotch.
Are you okay? You got hit?
I'm good. They're fucked for that, dude. What?
Okay.
So martial law has been implemented already. And it seems to me that they didn't even warn us. They didn't even tell us. All we know is we president say, if when the looters loot, we got to shoot. Next thing we know, we got martial law. We the it says prerogative to send the National Guard there to clash with the protesters. But here's a tweet right here that Mary found. Mary, explain the tweet.
Oh, it sounds like it says that that it says the National Guard has arrived on the scene. They are in Minneapolis and fully prepared. What are they prepared to do? What they just showed us. Shoot people at will. Okay? George Floyd will not have died, and then the rest of it said, in vain, respect his memory. How can you respect his memory, by killing other people? That just, them two statements just don't go together. You can't respect his memory by killing people, sending the National Guard to assault other innocent people.
With martial law.
With the martial law, make people stay in the house. Now that's something. You're gonna make people get off their porch, go in their house,
and shoot at them.
I don't know that video. That video was on Twitter. I don't have too much information about that video, but if that is the case, that is really sad. That is sad that that's happening, because all the protests that I seen was in business areas. I didn't see it migrate to no residential area, but that's a residential area, so I wanted some people to weigh in on that and let me know what they thought about that. That's just crazy. And I wanted also, Calvin, you mentioned that all the police officers should be vetted. I agree. I said that there should be some psychological, some in-depth psychological testing to see the state of a person's mind before they become a police officer. Just because their dad was a police officer and their granddad was a police officer, and there's a whole line of police officers in their family, don't make them qualified to be a police officer, because their mind state, and then just their parents' mind state. Just like you said, they need to see, I think it needs to go a little bit farther than seeing what they believe in, because what they're going to say is this is discrimination. If I'm an atheist, or, if I'm a devil worshiper, I can't be a police officer. Hell no. But anyhow, because we live in America, that might be a discrimination. But I think they should really have some type of testing, mental testing. How do they...
Can I make
Go ahead.
Well, if the legislators would just go ahead and make the neo-Nazis and the KKK domestic terrorists, then they won't be able to become police officers if they're involved in KKK activity and neo-Nazi activity. See, the Klan and the neo-Nazis, they've been terrorizing America for 400 years. They're domestic terrorists. Okay?
Yeah.
And Donald Trump.
Yeah, go ahead.
Donald Trump had the nerve to say that Latifah organization are terrorists. Okay? And then when the protesters went to the White House to protest at the White House, they hurried up and put Donald Trump in a bunker. He's in a bunker. Okay? After he said, go shoot the people, put martial law, he ran to a bunker after he threw red meat and hatred because of his election. He feels if he keeps this chaos going, that it's going to tip the scales and that people are going to put him back in the White House, so that we have to deal with this hell for another 4 more years with him in the White House. So they can rape America and then try to take America back into the late 30s, and we ain't going back. They have to realize that we are not going back. You know what I mean? We're not going back to that time, where we had to use the water fountain and they had the white water fountain and the black water fountain, or as you had to go to the bathroom You had to go to the bathroom yourself because you wasn't even allowed to go use the bathroom because it was only for whites. Okay, so he has this dream of reversing everything back, but still his cowardly ass ran into a bunker. Okay, after he started all this stuff. Now, my thing is they need to pass legislation naming these neo-Nazis and these KKK who infiltrated the police force and name them domestic terrorists. Once they find that out, they can get rid of all those police officers that belong to those hate groups. Okay, because police officers are always, when they go to schools and they talk to the kids and they tell the kids, these are the Bloods and these are the Crips. But check this out: the neo-Nazis and the KKK, they're a gang too. Okay, that figured out, hey, if we can't win them, join them. So they joined the police force, and now they got a license to kill. Go ahead, Dwayne or Mary.
Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but we got to also keep in mind that Donald Trump was the one who said there's some good people in there and there's some bad people in there, and most of his staff are those people. So it's going to be hard to have them pass something like that when he's a part of, the person that's over the whole country is a part of, over those groups. So, it's like a real conflict. So what do we do? Can we get petitions? Can we get like people, like where we, like, okay, here's an example. There was one lady who signed the petition and got that petition going around to take prayer out of school.
Well, we could do the same thing.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I want you to head something up. Tell us what we need to do, and we'll spread the word, and we'll keep having these shows until we can get everybody, get people on board.
We could do an online petition because they got the protest people out there, okay, and have them sign that petition and send it to Washington. And also, we can call you're allowed to call your representative, your congressman, okay? And every state is out there protesting. So we can put the word out and say, hey, let's call the congressman and say that we want the neo-Nazis and the KKK to be named as domestic terrorists. And then we want them to put an investigation on to see what law enforcement person is involved in these organizations. We can do that. We got the people already out there marching, okay? So we can use that leverage, okay? And we can get a petition and we can force the Senate and the House to pass that bill. This is the time to do it.
Right. I agree because we have to hold the legislators, we have to hold the congressmen, the senators accountable because a lot of this stuff that's going on right now is because of our elected officials are letting it happen. They're not, and a lot of them are blatantly just not. They're not trying to stop it from happening. So they're not putting their foot down. They're not marching. They're not out there protesting. They're talking on TV shows, but you have to put action behind your talking. You have to put action. So we need to call, just like you said, call our legislators, call our congressmen, call our senators, and we need to let them know, hey, this is not right. This is going on, and just like you said, with the picture of now, there's good cops and there's bad cops. We can't lump them all in one.
Right.
Just like these officers you were talking about right here, that were kneeling and praying. These cops are outshined by the bad cops because Donald Trump went on TV once he was elected, and he made sure that he had control of our law enforcement. So he got them on his side. So they feel like that they have protection in Donald Trump. So a lot of them fell to the wayside, and they started killing, they started really disrespecting a lot of the people, black and white, but mostly black. And you know, I agree. There's a lot of I want to put emphasis behind all that stuff that you were just saying, because you know we could have the power as a people to stop this as well, other than just protesting. Because right now we're protesting right now on the internet while we're talking, but other than just protesting, we have the power in our vote. We have the power in our vote, and we have a power in our mouths to call our representatives, to call the Senate and the House, to call them out on themselves. And you know, people like Amy Klobuchar, who could have prosecuted this guy a long time ago, but now she's running for president. You know, we need to call them out and let them know, look, you need to be helping out too. We're out here being shot at. We're out here being ridiculed and abused and killed. But you're sitting back in your chair in your office, and you come out once in a while and go on these different news stations and talk some talk. But you need to put action behind it. You need to put a pen behind it. Write some checks. Write some letters. Come out and protest and march. You know, like the civil rights leaders did in the old days, in the 60s, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and great leaders. They got out there with the protesters, and they marched and they walked and they signed checks and they wrote letters to stop this. Right now, all we have is ourselves.
Exactly. But that's why it's a good time to do it now, because people are protesting. Okay. And it's good not it's good to now to get a petition going. Say, hey, we want you to make the KKK and neo Nazis domestic terrorists. So if there's a neo Nazi working at an organization like your job, and you don't know it, and that person's giving you a hard time, okay, then that person has to be dismissed, because he's a terrorist. He's trying to terrorize a people. You know, the Klan, they murdered so many black people and people of color. You can't even count, you know what I mean, the people that they murder, and the unsolved murders of these black babies disappearing and stuff like that. You know, we need that type of legislation, because right now, they figured out, you know, hey, you know, we become law enforcement officers. We can go around and we can kill everybody we want, and we can get off. We might go to court, okay, and we might walk out of there and lose our job, but we can go to another town and get hired as a police officer. So we need to find out. So we need to put have some type of legislation and use the leverage right now while the people are out there protesting.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. We get ready. Our show's get ready to end in about 3 minutes. So we thank you, appreciate you coming on, and we hope you can come back on again and again and again. And let's get that petition started. Let's call everyone. Got the word? Call your local legislator Monday. You know, today's Sunday. Let's do this Monday. Call and say you want to. We want the KKKs and neo Nazis to be considered um, domestic threats to
Terrorists.
terrorists to the United States. You know, so. So if they do this, it expose that, or you can see that on their social media, or you can see some stuff in their background when they apply for certain government jobs, that they wouldn't be allowed to be hired for those. You know.
Exactly. That's what we need. That's what we got to start at, because we got to strip them from that power. You know what I mean? They're coming for police officers and stuff like that, and they're using it. You know, using the badge for hate. So we have to stop that.
Right.
So
Right. Right. There was some we've seen some of the clippings from here, Las Vegas, and You know, it's like so. I mean, there are so many good cops, but there are so many cops, hateful cops that's in all in the tangle in there. There was people protesting yesterday, and we've seen it, and it's right on camera. The cops said, "Grab anybody." People was just, they wasn't doing anything. They got mad. I got somebody threw water on them or threw a bottle of water on them, so they decided to take it out on everybody. And they arrested about 50 people. They um, sprayed pepper spray on them, and they shot them with rubber bullets. People like that need to be screened. When they're applying for jobs like that.
Oh yeah,
You're not supposed to be. I mean, I'm not saying you're supposed to be a doormat and let people hit over you either. But the people in the crowd that's doing that stuff.
oh yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
So you got 2 minutes, Calvin. What you want to tell the people? Other than start this petition. Anything else you want to say about
I
you
like
know?
that. I would like to tell the people that the peaceful protesting is low. We should not be um, doing any damage to anybody's property or looting, but we should be using our heads and doing petitions, um, protesting, and using that power because we got the people behind us. Okay, and if we're marching and stuff like that, and we see people getting ready to go in the store, we need to stop them and say, nope, that's not what we're here for. We're here to honor the young man that died, okay, so that we can put a stop to this so that this won't happen to any other people of color or anybody, that, law enforcement would do their job legally without bodily harm to a human being. So that's my message to everyone. Thank you. Guess I lost them, huh?
I just wanna leave. You're still there, Calvin. Your picture's just not there. But
Okay.
I just want to leave with saying this. We're going to come back on with another segment later on, either later on today or tomorrow. And the segment that I want to come on is, we want to talk about these things that people aren't talking about, like this arresting report that I found right here. We're going to read it and talk about this. Is the arresting report of the police officer tomorrow. So I want to leave with that. I want to leave with saying, he got third degree, which he might get 35 years.